The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Well, my fellow Americans, this is our time. Let us embrace it.
We must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of remaking America.
President Obama will give his second inaugural address on Monday after a lot of pomp and ceremony surrounding his official swearing in. But Inauguration Day wasn't always so elaborate. In his book, Don't Know Much About the American Presidents, Kenneth C. Davis looks back at the history and tradition of the oath of office. Good morning.
Good morning. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Yes. All right. Why does inauguration take place on January 20th? That was not always the case.
That's correct. It was originally March 4th, although Washington took it on April 29th, but that's another story. And it was moved to January 20th because the time between the election and the inauguration was too long. This was a crisis in 1861 when Lincoln was elected and he couldn't respond to the secession of the southern states. Another crisis was in 1933. We just saw Roosevelt. The Depression was going on. Roosevelt could do nothing to respond. Hoover was a lame duck president. So you had this long interperiod, and it was decided to move it up to January so the new president could respond more quickly to a crisis.
So if it's on Sunday, January 20th, do they have to move it?
The Constitution says the president must take the oath of office at noon on January 20th.
Right.
And so that's been the tradition in the 20th century. Back in the 19th century, they just moved it a day. So now the president takes the oath on Sunday, on the 20th, which is Sunday, and then takes it again publicly on the 21st. But the Constitution requires that it is done on the 20th.
And President Obama being sworn in this year on Martin Luther King Day. The significance of that.
A lot of tremendous symbolism here, obviously. First of all, he's using Martin Luther King's Bible and Lincoln Bible. We're talking about Lincoln with the movie. Yes. This is the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. There is a monument to Dr. King. 50 years after I Have a Dream, there's a memorial to this man. So this story of race, slavery, civil rights, and its involvement in our history is so important. So I think it's really significant to have all these symbols together on this very, very significant day.
President Barack Obama is the 44th American president, and we have had 20 two-term presidents. How have two-term presidents fared?
Recently, not so well. If we think about the major controversies in recent presidencies, they tend to come in the second term. I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but it may not be. Bill Clinton's impeachment, of course. George Bush had a lot of his presidency starts to unravel in the second term. Richard Nixon, Watergate unfurls in the second term. For Ronald Reagan, Iran-Contra. It may be that sometimes people get it, they've been around too long, they get a little sloppy, but some of those things preceded the second term as well. It always hasn't been the case. Franklin D. Roosevelt, we just saw 1933. His second term, although he had one big setback, he tried to go too far with the Supreme Court. It was still a successful second term.
Okay, Davis, thank you so much.